Hello everyone, welcome back to the Scenario Composer training course. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to create assessments and how to tie them to a particular scenario. So in the first videos within this course, we explored the process of creating scenarios. We essentially set up this very basic scenario here. And we're just going to rename it. Instead of calling it Red Team, we're just going to call this Eternal Blue. I'm just going to rename it. So in Eternal Blue Demo, this is of course recommended. So Eternal Blue Demo, and we're just going to say Eternal Blue Demo Scenario, right? And the reason for this is because this is essentially that. It's just a demo. We can add an image here. Of course, I already covered this process. So I'm just going to specify an Eternal Blue image there so that it has some context. And we can now click on the actual game type here. Now, whenever you want to add an assessment to a scenario, you can specify the game type as Cyber Challenge. You'll then be be provided with the assessment tab here, where you can create an assessment. So I'm going to call this Eternal Blue Demo Assessment, right? As this is just a demo, I'll make sure you can specify its visibility. So in this case, it's public and active. That's perfectly fine. And we can start creating questions. So we can, begin creating a question here. So this will all be tied to the actual scenario itself. Now, when creating a question, you're going to have various fields, one of which is the question name, the question tags, the question group, and then the question type, which is very important. You can also specify the question author, specify the amount of retries you want the student to be provided with, and the amount of points or marks provided to the student once they successfully get the question correct. So again, in this case, I'm just going to be creating a couple of them just to show you the versatility of the assessment engine. So we can create one here maybe to do with, host discovery, for example. So the question tags, we can, provide it maybe with a few question tags that tie into network discovery. So network, we can just hit enter there, and also exploitation. These are just used for organization of specific questions. The question type, we have multiple. We have exact match, true or false, partial match, multiple choice, single answer, multiple choice, multi-answer. And then, of course, multiple choice variable scoring, which is self-explanatory. And then, of course, you have reordering, element matching, and free text. Free text is very useful when you want students to provide you with a detailed description, or in many cases, a report style answer where they explain, a particular step. So in this case, we can just go for multiple choice single answer. And, we can essentially ask a question like, what system on the DMZ network, what is the IP address? We can change that to make much more sense. So what is the IP address of the system on the DMZ network that is vulnerable to Eternal Blue? Right, so within your question editor, you have the ability to play around with the way the question is presented. So you can make it bold, you can italicize it, underline it. You can also make the question bigger by increasing the font size. And of course, you have the ability to, in this case, I'm just going to make this smaller here. So you can see I can make this a paragraph again, and you can also add more information that's pertinent to the question. You can then begin adding the answers. So, I can specify, for example, the correct answer. So 125.110. I can add another answer like 192.168.125.150, so on and so forth. And then you need to specify the correct answer. So in this case, the correct answer is this one right here. And then you can also associate this question to a particular cloud template. So in this case, we can add the Eternal Blue cloud template that we added, but in this case, we're not going to do that. The max retries, we can maybe provide 3, and the marks for this, we can say to 5. And then we can also add a penalty if the student gets the question wrong. So we can add a penalty of maybe, 5 marks, etc. So we can click on save, and that's going to add the question. We can then add another one. So I'm just going to take a look at a couple of examples. In this case, we can just create another question tied to the scenario itself. So we can say, for example, this is pertinent to the exploitation tool. So we're just going to say eternal blue and we're just going to say the question tags here are tied to exploitation, and we can keep this as true or false, and in this case the marks can be 10. So we can say in this case, for example, eternal blue is a vulnerability that affects Windows Server 2019, right? And of course we can then say the correct answer is false, and there we are. So we can just add that. There we go. And that is really how to create questions for an assessment. And of course, this assessment is already tied to this scenario. You also have the ability to randomize the questions and randomize the answers. This specifically means that the order in which the questions are displayed are going to be randomized, and the order of the answers are also going to be randomized. It doesn't mean that the answer is going to be randomized. So in this case, if we did not want to randomize the questions, we could disable that, but we can also randomize the answers or the order in which the answers are displayed. You can also specify whether this question is optional. So you can click on that there, that'll make it optional, and you have the ability to edit the question or to remove it. Once you're done adding your questions, it's very important that you click on save, so that assessment is saved and the scenario itself is saved. So there we are. You can see the scenario is updated successfully. And, you can go ahead and, set up the story and the mission of the actual scenario itself. And, that's pretty much it when it comes down to assessments. You can also view the assessments that you've created by clicking on the assessments tab, and you can view them individually. What this means is that you can modify them within here, and the changes will be reflected within the scenario that has this assessment attached to it. What this also means is that you can also assign the same assessment to multiple scenarios if you want, which is really, really helpful and very useful. And you can reorder it and structure how it is displayed within a specific scenario. You also have your question pool, which will display the list of questions that you have created. So in this case, you can see the questions we created here. And if you hover over it, it'll essentially show you the correct answer that we specified when we were creating that particular question. So that is going to conclude this video. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at how to bundle everything together. Now that we've created our scenario, we've created our cloud template, and of course we've created our assessment. So we'll be able to take a look at how to finalize everything for production for this particular scenario that we have created.